still alive.
Still alive.
So for me, a character who lives is, as a writer, a great reward, that those characters haven't died 20 years ago and people are still interested.
आपका राइटिंग का प्रोसेस क्या है? कब आपको लगता है कि ओके यहाँ से मेरी किताब शुरू हो रही है और आई हैव रीच्ड द एंड ऑफ इट नाउ?
It's a process that is difficult to deconstruct or explain. You just know it within yourself. There is a story you want to tell, और उसकी beginning और उसकी end उसका एक ग्राफ रहता है, वो आप structure जो बनाते हैं before you start a book, that's how I work. But quite often वो structure अलग ही रह जाता है and the story takes over by itself, the characters take over by themselves. It's difficult to explain why that happens, when it happens, how it happens. But before you start writing the book, you sort of have an idea.
So आपके feverish spells of writing होते हैं कि एक disciplined time है कि this time पे?
You can't do it any other way. I write every day of my life. So you can't wait for inspiration. It's a discipline. It's a commitment. It's what I do.
All across all these years, you have written these 17 books and you write endless columns and writing के बारे में आपकी perception पहले से लेके अब तक कितनी बदली है? What do you think makes a good piece of work?
Good writing is about communication, and good communication is to be able to reach that specific reader or that specific audience. Like if I'm writing for the Times of India, that column is a political column. I know who I'm addressing. I cannot confuse that with some other column. Similarly, if it's a book that's non-fiction, and I've tried all kinds of different genres even in writing books. I've written memoirs, I've written letters, I've written an anthology I've put together with Khushwant Singh. So you kind of train yourself. It's again, it's like doing yoga, it's like doing riyaz, it's like a classical singer. The more that person sings, the more the voice becomes supple and the surer he can of, or she can, of hitting those notes. The more you write, it's a craft. You keep working on it, you keep working on it. And you know, you have a certain standard for yourself. And you should never compromise with that.
Okay, did it take any courage to write your autobiography, Selective Memory?
It does, because to put your own life on the line, to write about that with a level of integrity and truth and an honesty of purpose, yes, it does take courage.
Do you remember any chapter in your autobiography जो सबसे painful रहा हो लिखना, जो सबसे challenging रहा हो, you had second thoughts about it?
Second thoughts, no, but when I wrote about my mother, my relationship with her and my response to when she passed away, it's something that I wrote in one stretch and I have never ever gone back to it. I can never reread it, I can never even think about it because it still causes me a tremendous amount of pain.
As a journalist, आप और जैसे खुशवंत सिंह, आप लोग एक slot हुए हैं कि irreverent, completely blunt, straight, honest, to the point of actually making somebody feel almost flabbergasted and insulted also. इस चीज़ को हमेशा बनाए रखने में कुछ conscious effort गया है?
See, with Khushwant Singh, it's a different thing. He likes insulting people. And he jokes about it, he boasts about it. His obituaries are perhaps some of the most cruel obituaries ever. When a person is dead and gone, he thinks nothing of, you know, talking about that person's personal life, revealing secrets. He does it to himself too. Or even in his new book, he has talked as candidly about himself, his attitude to women, how he may not have been the best husband in the world, and about his wife who's no more. So it's not that he uses two different standards, one for himself and one for the world. So I respect him for that. I don't set out to insult anybody, but I am very outspoken. I'm almost opinionated, but I would do it only when it comes to a matter of national interest. As a citizen who has a democratic right to criticize people in power and make them accountable. And that's about it. I wouldn't go into Suresh Kalmadi's private life, for example, or Lalit Modi's private life. But if they have mishandled money or an event and that money happens to belong to taxpayers, then I have every right, as you have every right, and every citizen has a right to hold them accountable. And I would do that without, you know, pulling back my punches.
आपने इतने सारे फेजेस देखे हैं ज़िंदगी के, एज अ करियर वुमन, एज एन ऑथर, एज अ मॉडल, एज अ वाइफ, एज अ मदर, एंड यू स्टिल गोइंग स्ट्रॉन्ग, यू नो, एंड टच वुड टू दैट. इन सब रोल्स में सबसे फुलफिलिंग फेजेस ज़िंदगी के आपको सबसे ज़्यादा कब लगे हैं? When are you most happy, or should we put it like that?
Only when I'm with my children.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else gives me as much joy. And now I'm looking forward to becoming a nanny soon.
Oh.
So that'll be another new phase. I'm looking forward to that as well. It will be something that I've been waiting for a long, long time. But nothing, the children may annoy me, they may, and I may irritate them. But if anybody were to ask me, what would you, if you had 2 hours to spare, which I do every day, of course, more than 2 hours, more than 4 hours, more than 5 hours, as many hours as I choose, because I work on my own time, who would you choose to spend those with? And if they were to give me a list of world leaders versus my children, I would pick my kids any day.
So what is it about motherhood which gives so much of fulfillment?
I don't know, I just find them such fun. I mean, I just feel completely myself with them. I feel accepted. I feel not judged, but more than anything else, we just have the best time. We have our own language, we have our own jokes, we have a lot of common passions and interests, whether it's music or cinema or books, travel. So all our holidays, my best holidays are always with my family. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Right. 2 of your children are from Dilip ji's previous
That's
marriage, right?
Yes.
उनके साथ भी relationship बिल्कुल वैसे ही है
Absolutely,
जैसा?
because they were babies. He was a widower when we met
Yeah.
and married. So I have raised them. They're like my own. I hope, given them exactly the same quality of time and love as I have to the other 4. And anybody who's ever interacted with our family, I don't think anybody can ever tell that they're not.
Yeah.
They're my biological children. I don't even think of it like that.
अच्छा, आपने, in fact that reminds me, आपने एक किताब भी लिखी है, Spouse, How to Make a Marriage Work.
Yeah.
You've gone through 2 marriages.
Yes.
Now after all these years, आपको क्या लगता है, what makes a marriage not work, and then what makes a marriage work?
The single biggest factor that makes a marriage work is commitment. You have to feel committed to marriage itself. You have to like the idea of marriage. The institution of marriage has to appeal to you. And then you have to give it your all. And
Is it always very easy?
Never. It's not easy. But if it's important enough to you, then it does become easy, because it's what you want for yourself. It's an active choice.
What do you think went wrong in your previous marriage?
But there are too many circumstances, but it wasn't anything dramatic, drastic, miserable or terrible.
Yeah, that
it was
comes
a
across.
recognition that it was not for either of us the right decision. That's it.
You have no regrets?
Absolutely none.
अच्छा, you know, जब आपकी ऑटोबायोग्राफी पढ़ते हैं और आपको देखते भी हैं, एकदम you seem sorted out. It seems कि ज़िंदगी स्मूथ ही रही है, पर ऐसे phases आए होंगे जब probably you were close to being a mess, or did you have any such thing?
No.
No, you were
No.
lucky.
No, I wouldn't say lucky. I'd say sensible and realistic and practical. It's not that I haven't had tough times.
Okay.
But how you deal with tough times is what makes you who you are.
How did you deal with them?
I think I'm an optimist. In low phases, you have to remind yourself that there's always a high tide after a low tide. And after a moonless night, there will be a new moon. And that single sense of hope and gives you a lot of courage. So if you surrender to defeat, if you surrender to that bad phase and you say you're going to be stuck in that forever, then chances are you'll be sending that kind of bad energy out to yourself and accepting defeat without even trying for victory.
Ajay, through your writings, through some of your columns, especially close to Ganesh Chaturthi, or, you know, the religious side of you, the
Yes.
spiritual side of you surfaces.
Yes.
And we notice it pretty strongly.
Yeah.
What is your connection with God? What is your idea of prayer?
It is something today that I'm far, far more aware about, far more conscious of, far more sensitized to. Like I was talking about earlier, that something draws me to the Golden Temple over and over again. There's certain places which attract me and draw me to them. at Jagannath Puri in Odisha. I go back to that temple a lot. And Ganesh, of course, lives within me. He's my best friend. But I never ask God for anything, or the
Never
spirit.
have.
Even for myself, I pray that I just become a better person, a kinder person, a person with more compassion.
ऐसा भी कभी होता है जब हाई अचीवमेंट्स के there's a string of that. ऐसे कभी phases आते हैं जब लगता है कि okay, what next? What is the purpose of life? Do you face that question sometimes?
If you let the idea of success dominate your life, that everything you touch has got to be successful, then that can also cripple you.
Yeah.
It depends on how desperately you want it. I've never wanted it desperately. Success is a very lonely preoccupation, and you can't hug success, you can't kiss success, you can't take success to bed with you.
हर रोज सुबह उठ के, what is it, you get up and say, okay, yet another day, and what is it that keeps you going? What do you want to achieve in those small ways?
In the small ways, when I look at myself in the mirror, first thing when I'm washing my face and brushing my teeth, my only question is, can I look myself in the mirror and feel good about life, about myself? Or can I look at myself in the mirror with regret or bitterness, or even feel ashamed of something?
Yeah.
If that day comes, and I hope it never does, that I can't look my own self in the eye, then I'll be a different human being. I'll probably be a sad person, and I never want that to happen. So I would never, I hope, make such an error in my life where I can't be at peace with my own self.
How do you keep yourself so fit, so beautiful, and
Very kind. Thank you for the compliment to start with, but I don't think I can take that much credit for it. I believe a lot of it has to do with the gene pool you're born into, and I think I was quite fortunate in that. And apart from that, you just have to manage what God has given you well, but also don't get so completely immersed in just the external, because you can't have the external in isolation and neglect the internal. So the two have to be in sync. So if you feel good about yourself, chances are you'll look good too.
Thank you so much. We really wish
Thank you.
that your internal and the external remain as much in sync as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Lovely interview. Thank you.
Thanks a ton.
वक्त के साथ और हवा के रुख में क्या बदलना है, क्या कायम रखना है, शोभा डे खूब समझती हैं। भरपूर जीने के अंदाज हम चुरा लाए हैं इस मुलाकात से।